Well, fellow Canadians, I have very good news. Justin Trudeau is extremely down in the polls, like the worst that it's ever been, and it's rapidly getting more and more detrimental to the Liberal Party of Canada, which means that whether the Liberals call an election this fall or whether it goes the distance till 2025, and we actually have the date for that election, which I'll mention in this video, it doesn't really matter because unless Pierre Poilievre or the Conservative Party of Canada have an astronomical controversy, it's looking like we're going to have not only a conservative leader as our prime minister, but a conservative majority. We're more likely to have a conservative majority than a conservative minority government. Welcome back to another video, everybody. It brings me great pleasure to provide this video for you. Before we begin, I'd like to encourage you to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps grow the channel, as well as remind you that if you don't have time to watch these longer videos, I do have a clips channel, which is Mr. Sunshine Baby Clips. The link for that is down in the description, as well as the merch shop, which is linked down in the description. We're going to be covering quite a few things in this video. We're going to be looking at this very weird AI generated ad campaign of Justin Trudeau. I don't know who made this, but someone in my Discord community, which if you'd like to join, the link for that is down in the description. Someone in my Discord community posted this, and we're going to take a look at it. We're just going to kind of blind react because I've never seen this or anything like this, as well as we're going to look at the polls. We're going to look at the election date. We're going to look at what Trudeau is saying in Indonesia right now, how he's potentially like just completely obliterating all global relations and how everyone's kind of turning against him. You know, the huge. All right, without further ado, let's get into this very weird AI generated video.
Fellow Canadians, it's been almost 2 years since nearly a third of you showed enough confidence in my leadership to vote for a Liberal government, and the time is coming once again for you to make your voices heard. We've come a long way as a nation, and we've learned a lot together. We've learned that taxpayers paying even more money to the government really helps the environment. Experts. We've learned that farming is really bad for the environment, and that people probably shouldn't have food. We've learned that only racists care about informed consent when making decisions about their health. We've learned that it's not just the terminally ill who need access to euthanasia.
No, it's everybody. Everybody needs access to euthanasia, according to the Liberal Party of Canada.
People who suffer from depression, a high cost of living, low self-esteem, low credit scores, premature baldness, the list goes on and on. And as we learn together, we learn that as Canadians, we all share the same values, like the importance of teaching children.
Oh, that's not a weirdly generated AI person. That's supposed to be, that looks like a teacher and those are students. So that's supposed to probably be some sort of transgender teacher. The way that the face originally hit the light and the way that I perceived it was like, cause you know how AI sometimes they'll have like 6 fingers or something like that. I thought that's what was going on with the face. It was all distorted. Nope, that's just a transgender teacher.
And in school that they're probably not really the gender they think they are, and that it's not the
fish, dog, 7 + 2 equals squiggly marks. That's about right for the Canadian school curriculum.
end of the world if they can't read or do basic math, because feelings. We've learned the importance of shutting down small businesses when some people get sick, but it's perfectly fine for you to continue spending money at Walmart or McDonald's.
I am still just so angry that they shut down everything that they did during the coup. It's still, I mean, it put so many people out of business. So many people are probably never, like hundreds of thousands of people will never financially recover. Even possibly millions here in Canada will never financially recover from that. It's just horrible. And there's been rumors circulating that, you know, they're thinking about bringing masks back. I don't have any comment on that right now. I do want to make a video on that in the near future. So all the more reason to say subscribe, turn those post notifications on. Hopefully I've earned your post notification loyalty by now. But if I haven't, then hopefully you can see the video coming up, because I do really want to cover the upcoming rumor of masks.
Because science. We've also learned that my wife doesn't like me very much. But that's fine, because you like me. You really like me.
When have you ever seen in Canada so many insert prime minister's name flags? I've never seen this ever. The only time I've ever seen this is in America, and it's happening simultaneously with F Joe Biden, right? FJT, FJB. That's it. Even with Trump, I never saw F Trump flags. I never saw, Trump is the devil flags, not in the masses like I see, F Trudeau flags. And maybe that's a bias because we're here in Canada and maybe we just don't get the same amount of information or the inside scoop of what's happening in America. But if anyone in the comments has anything different to say, maybe now's the time to pause the video and scroll down and take a look at what people are saying, because I don't know if anyone with all seriousness can actually say that they've seen any country's leader matched or any political figure matched with this amount of F political leader flags. This, Canada is just coming together. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful how Canada has come together over their bond for the hatred of our prime minister. I mean, it's enough to make a grown man cry.
I hear loud and clear every time I go out in public. I enjoy traveling this great nation and meeting all of you fine people and hearing your stories. Stories about how you had to tell your children no hockey camp this year because you can barely afford food. Stories about how your new electric car left you stranded in the middle of the prairies in -30 weather, even though you paid $80,000 for it. Stories about how you lost your job and reputation because you accidentally offended someone. These are Canadian stories. These are our stories. Canada, hockey, Tim Hortons, Justin Trudeau, lakes, rivers, traditions, friendship, maple syrup, enchanted forest, togetherness.
I love how everything he's mentioned is actually Canadian, except for the Justin Trudeau. I want to go back and listen to all these things.
It's about how you lost your job and reputation because you accidentally offended someone. These are Canadian stories. These are our stories. Canada, hockey,
Tim Hortons,
Justin Trudeau, lakes,
rivers, traditions. Does Canada have a lot of traditions? Does Canada, our culture is literally multiculturalism. That's how we define our culture here. But in terms of Canadian tradition, do we have many? I'm kind of drawing a blank right now.
Maple syrup.
Yeah.
Enchanted forest.
Enchanted forest. Now, for those who live anywhere except BC, I highly, this is kind of embarrassing, but when I was a kid in high school, there was a friend who was born and raised, I think, in Vancouver, and he made his way to Toronto for high school. And he was telling me about BC, how they had these really tall trees and this ocean and this, vast amount of tall tree land. And it was almost like a rainforest with these enchanted forests. And I didn't believe him. I was like, no, dude. The world sucks like Toronto. I mean, Toronto sucks the life out of you. It's concrete jungle, it's hustle and bustle, and that is how everywhere is in the rest of the world. That's what I had said to him in high school until I eventually moved to BC, and I was like, wow, hold on. Specifically the coast, right? Vancouver Island. The world doesn't have this gravitational pull towards sucking the way Toronto does, and it's quite beautiful. Sorry if you live in Toronto. I don't mean to shit on your city. It's just, it's Toronto. It is what it is.
Togetherness. Happy. Good. Let's make this next election our last. Elections are divisive, and divisiveness is not what we're about as Canadians. We all agree on everything. That's our strength, because I said so.
This reminds me, oh my God, this reminds me of John Julian, I think his name is, on YouTube, the musician guy who does the Justin Trudeau songs and rap battles and things like that. It really reminds me of him. That is hilarious. Well done, AI. I don't know where this video came from. I wish I could give credit. It was just dropped in my Discord community. I don't know where the video came from. So to me, my understanding is that this is a literal liberal ad campaign that's AI generated. Maybe Justin Trudeau was up late at night wondering, why did Sophie leave me? And then so he created an ad campaign on his, on his taxpayer funded, MacBook or whatever he uses. But that's my understanding. Anyways, let's look at real world things instead of cartoon and AI generated things. Here's the election date that's scheduled, October 20th, 2025. Now, this is from 338canada.com. When you click on the election date, it can bring you to the federal projections. So right now, it's looking popular vote projection, 38% plus or minus 4% for the Conservative Party of Canada. with a projected amount of seats of 179, where they need 170 for a majority government. Every time I take a look at this, every time we revisit this, just, I don't know, maybe 2 times a week, once a week, this number changes. It used to be 165, it used to be 169, it was 170, it was 172, 175. Now it's 179, and I can almost guarantee the next time we check in, it'll probably be around 183 to 185. It's looking very good. But this is the most important thing right here. 338 Canada odds of winning the most seats. It's looking like 98% chance of the Conservative government, or the Conservative, I'm premature already, Conservative government in Canada, the Conservative Party of Canada to win, 98% likely, which is amazing. And they are more likely to win, they are 67% likely to win a majority government, and only 31% projected to win a minority government. So that is looking good. Now, these are rough ideas. These are just projections. They're not exactly real world numbers. It's almost like a weatherman accuracy or stock predictions, looking at the market. It's kind of like that analytical breakdown. Anything can happen. There could be a lot more bills that get pushed that not only suppress Meta, Instagram and Facebook the way that they've already done, but they could really tighten up on Google, which would limit how much transmission of news or videos that are, anti-Trudeau or political stuff like the ones I'm doing right now. We don't know what the Liberals are capable of. They still have their coalition with the NDP. A lot of people are very against what the Liberal government has strongholded with Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, the whole company. So we are getting back into the House soon. It's September 7th right now. We have 11 days before they sit down back in the House of Commons and, do their job, which rarely happens. But nonetheless, anything can happen between now and, October 20th, 2025. That's still 2 full years. So, yeah. Let's not get our hopes up fully, but let's keep the momentum. And as they like to say, let's hold the line. This is Justin Trudeau overseas in Indonesia, I believe. Let's see what he has to say.
Canada has what it takes to help ASEAN attain its goals. I just mentioned clean energy. Canada is becoming the reliable supplier of clean energy a net zero world needs. More than ever in these challenging times, we need resilient supply chains, stable trading relationships, and alignment on values. This is about securing the resources that our economies and citizens rely on, whether that's energy or raw materials or food.
We have tons of food here in Canada. Wouldn't you agree? Aren't your fridge and freezers and pantries just stocked with fresh food multiple times a week that barely take anything out of your paycheck? Or would you disagree with Justin Trudeau?
Canada is a reliable partner. It's not a coincidence that we have 15 free trade agreements that cover 61% of the world's GDP and open markets to 1.5 billion consumers worldwide.
All right, so here's my 2 cents on the whole clean energy shtick. I think that no matter what, even if the government didn't force people to switch to electric and we would be, using more lithium batteries instead of fossil fuels, I think that this would have naturally happened over the course of time. It's cool. It's slick tech, right? It's more responsive. It feels better, whether that's a electric car or a gasoline vehicle. It's less mess. And for younger people such as myself and the upcoming generation, we're used to technology. We're used to phones. We're used to, I lived in a van for like 4 years and then an RV for 1 year. And the RV had solar, even though it was plugged into shore power, but my van was completely solar power, right? Like my fridge, freezer, my computer, my lights, everything, my shower, my water heater, everything ran off of solar. And so to people like myself, the younger generation, people under 30, because I can only say that for a couple more months before I turn 30 on literally Christmas Day, We like tech, we like using solar, we like harnessing the power of the sun, and we like that new age technology. It's cleaner. To be honest, man, I'm not a big oil change guy. I'm not a big car guy. I'm not a big nuts and bolts, that type of guy. I like doing other things, just certain things that, older people like to do. I'm not into that. Big surprise, right? Big surprise. But nonetheless, I think that it would have naturally taken its course towards that type of technology and people wanting that. The issue is that the Liberal government has forced this on Canadians. They've strong-armed people into saying, hey, we know, you're older, you might like your old Chevy or your old Ford, or how they have arguments between Ford and Chevy and GMC people and Dodge, whatever it is, your old fossil fuel, earth-killing vehicles, right, is how they would label it. But you're not allowed that anymore. In fact, we're going to force you through higher gas prices and more taxes. We're going to drain you financially to force you to switch to something that you aren't ready to do yet. I think that if you want to have a gas car or a diesel car, and if that's what works for you, if that's your daily commuter, if that's what you use for your business, then you should be able to use that for the rest of your life. You shouldn't have to be forced to switch to EV, and you shouldn't be taxed to death because of your choices. And that's this communist government is where they're going, is they're taxing people to death. They're forcing people to take certain things that they don't want to. They're forcing certain restrictions on people, and they're playing people's hands. And that's not what a government is supposed to do. That's what a communist government is supposed to do. That's not what Canada's government is supposed to do. And the fact that people aren't realizing this is a real big no-no. But it seems like so far people are realizing this, because I just showed you the poll projections, and everyone is just so fed up with Justin Trudeau. Even the most liberal people are like, well, I don't think I can deal with this anymore. So everyone's done with Trudeau, which is why we're going to see a big shift in the polls. And speaking of big shift, we have Pierre Poilievre cranks up the heat for new housing, but is Edmonton suddenly cooling off? Edmonton has excelled at supercharging private property owners, especially when it comes to permitting various forms of infill. Pierre Poilievre is cranking up the heat for Canadian cities to build more housing, which you would think would be good news in Edmonton. After all, it's hard to find a city in Canada that has been more pro-growth and more pro-housing than Edmonton City Council this century. And that's actually what I was going to say without reading that article, was that Edmonton is literally like a powerhouse. I've never seen more subdivisions being built at any given time in any city than Edmonton. They are just building and building and building. Property owners and developers have all kinds of opportunities in Edmonton that they lack in other cities, where social engineering restrictions and not in my backyard attitudes have ruled the roost. There have been more positive moves under the new mayor to keep up pro-housing momentum in Edmonton, but a new push by City Council to restrict the development of new neighborhoods in South Edmonton. The single most popular part of housing market suggests Edmonton could go in reverse. This would put in conflict with aspiring homeowners, but also with Poilievre and his Conservatives, a party now bounding ahead of the Trudeau Liberals in federal polls, which is a really big eye-opener for a lot of people. To kind of reiterate on my last point, is not everyone is into politics, and that seems to be a bit of a problem here in Canada. We have this weird thing where we just don't care. It's not interesting, but it's now being made more interesting with the ad hominems, the constant attacks. At least for me, that's what I find interesting, is the debates and how they attack each other, because it's just interesting. It is what it is. Whether that's good or bad, it's just what it is. But it's getting a lot of people's attention. And a lot of people, younger generations, even older generations, it doesn't really matter the age on this one, but people that are traditionally coming out of university or college and trying to start a life for themselves are looking at getting houses, or looking at rental markets, or moving out of their parents' house, out of dorms, trying to make it out on their own. And they're realizing, oh my God, my parents took care of me in an economy like this? No. Don't ever let your parents try and guilt you into thinking that Canada has ever been this expensive and this bad. This is the worst Canada has ever been. But that doesn't mean that parents who have taken care of their kids haven't made sacrifices, because housing is expensive regardless of when you have gotten into it, whether it's at 2% interest rate or 7% interest rate. Housing in Canada has been an issue for a long time, specifically for the past 8 years. It's been on an upward trajectory for costs, and it's not looking good. So we need some good leadership to take control. And it's very, very positive that the Conservative Party of Canada is tapping into the younger generation to get them interested, get those what would be most viewed as traditional liberal voters, the younger people coming out of college, coming out of university. So Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are doing a great job there. And that's where we're going to end the video, everybody. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you agree or disagree with any of my talking points? Please let me know. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you want to support the channel financially, you can do so by checking out the merch shop linked right up there. Or if you want to do something for free, which is also absolutely acceptable and highly encouraged, you can subscribe right there. If you want to continue watching videos like this, you can do so by clicking or tapping right there to watch the next upcoming video. And if you want to watch a little bit of different content, but also Canadian stuff, you can do so by clicking right up there. That's my second channel, House of Canada, also known as the House of Commons Highlights. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.